Awosi? All right, good afternoon, everybody. Mi espera que você tour lunch. I hope you all had a great lunch. I welcome you back to this hybrid event. We are present at the Marriott Curaçao, where we are having the Curaçao Export Week. Our next speaker, by the way, hybrid means we are also live online on the CNEX YouTube page. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Mrs. Rashida Petronilia from CNEX. She will be elaborating on the future of investment, exploring Curaçao's diverse market opportunities. So, yeah, of course. Nos tiene que den, let's go. Let's go. Dame un aplauso para Rashida. Exactamente. Thank you, Rashida.
I have an audience. That's nice. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here, especially after a lunch break. I mean, it's not the most exciting time slot for a speaker, but we're here. As mentioned, my name is Rashida Petronilia, and I'm from the Curaçao Investment and Export Promotion Agency. And especially for the ones that live on the island, most of you, bear with me for the first couple of slides, because since we're streaming online, we did not want to omit any general information in case there are international investors looking as well. Okay? Let me see. Green means next, right? Just a quick assistance with this. Oh, okay. So just a brief introduction, as I mentioned, for especially our online audience as well. Curaçao, a population of 149,000 people, as you might know. We are part of the Dutch Kingdom. In 2010, we became an autonomous country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands, meaning that we manage most of our internal affairs as an autonomous country. But there are special areas where it's being managed on the kingdom level, right? Defense, for example. Our capital, Willemstad, part of the World Heritage Site, which we are very proud of. We pride ourselves as well in being a multilingual community, speaking Dutch, English, Papiamento as our native language. We have a community of people that speak even more than that, including Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, etc. Our currency is backed at the US dollar at 179, and soon this will become the Caribbean guilder. At the moment, it is the Antillean guilder. So why do we promote Curaçao as an investment destination and an export hub? You might have seen these points already, but it's good that we keep reminding our people of why it is essential that we know that, one, our location, strategically located outside of the hurricane belt with a well-developed harbor, our access that we have, daily, weekly flights from Europe, United States, Central America, and the Caribbean, our talent pool, highly skilled and multilingual, was scalable, and it's scalable throughout the region and the EU as well. Stability, high-quality Dutch legal system, and politically stable government, infrastructure. We have an internet penetration of 86.7%, which is very high compared to the other countries in the Caribbean as well. We have a Tier 4 data center, which is really unique, only one in the Pan-Caribbean region, excuse me, and a quality real estate. Can you assist me with the next slide? Oh, okay. So what do we have on the island to offer investors, okay, in terms of incentives? We have a normal, or let's say a general corporate tax rate at 22%. However, the following domestic activities are taxed at a reduced rate of 3%. You have the call, service, or data center, warehousing companies, aircraft and shipbuilding, services provided in Curaçao, the unrelated investment funds, and the managers. We have the e-zone regime, which you can use if you establish one of your companies in one of the two e-zones. Then we have on the island, with a condition as well, that 70% or more turnover must be obtained from exports. We have the tax holiday, which is available for most businesses, with a starting investment of $2.8 million, and you get exemption from import duties, exemption from real estate tax, exemption for income tax on dividends, and so on. One that we are very excited about as well is the residency by investment, where high net worth foreign individuals are eligible for a multi-year residency permit with an investment of at least 500,000 guilders, which is around $281,000, scalable to an indefinite period with an investment of $838,000. Furthermore, we have the zero profit tax on profits from intangible assets. Think here, intellectual property. We had a lecture about intellectual property just now in the first session. Furthermore, we have what is really actually relatable to the export that we have, Export Week, is the preferential access to USA through CBI program and EU to the OCT program. This means that if you have a product that is of origin of Curaçao or has gone enough transformation to become a product of Curaçao, it can be imported into either EU or USA without paying import duties, right? We have treaties to prevent double taxation and information exchange agreements as well. I'm having a little bit of trouble with these. Okay, thank you. So why we're here this week? The Curaçao Export Week, right? In 2018, we began this project to create our own national export strategy. And together, and when we say together, it's both the public sector and the private sector, came up with this sector, which you can see now on the TV, that we are going to develop for the next 5 years as export sectors, right? Centered around technology and e-government. These sectors are bioeconomy, education services, IT services, financial services, renewable energy, which is coming, health and wellness, creative industries, and port and maritime services. But what does that mean in terms of investment? If you want to export, you need to invest first, right? Whatever you're exporting, you invest in first, whatever production or services. So that's where CNEX comes in. So for the next years, these sectors are also going to be very important for us in terms of seeking investment or assisting local companies or local entrepreneurs that want to invest in the following. Mm-hmm. With? Correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would you suggest as a definition? Efficiency. Efficiency energy applications. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's something that
Sorry,
we can
could you
take in
please repeat?
consideration of.
Could you please
Oh,
repeat the question? Because
repeat-
otherwise, the
repeat
people at
the-
home will not.
Just
hear.
keep it short.
Yeah, I'll keep it
The
very short.
definition.
So
for me.
definition is very simple. Instead of saying renewable energy, I believe it should read something more like efficiency alternatives, which automatically would include renewable energy and also appliances and solutions. So such as the refrigeration systems that use cold water from under ocean. They just all you need is a pump that brings the water in, and through a heat exchange,
guess.
it cools up the room. So things like that are not included in renewable energy, but sometimes they're even more efficient than renewable energy
I
solutions.
guess we can use also sustainable growth or
Sustainable energy.
Yes.
Energy
I agree.
solutions.
Nice,
Okay,
nice,
so
nice
maybe,
observation.
Yeah, because right now, every single time I see people perform presentations, they keep it very limited. And also the financing of it.
Yeah.
It's also, it should be a bit
I
broader.
think that will be another topic for.
Yeah, so
the
right now,
next
for
day.
the financing also,
Yeah.
I see only them gearing towards financing alternative energy generation. Nobody looks at the efficiency side of it. And
Yeah.
that's not very smart, because at the end of the day, if we can avoid spending the electricity or expensing the electricity, money to create a cheaper, bring solutions to save the electricity, automatically you don't have to generate that
I
electricity
think it's
anymore.
something that we definitely will take into consideration.
Thank you.
We have people of the ministry in here as well. So thank you for your observation as well. I think it's this one, right? I think I need some help with this. It's not changing. Yeah, thank you. Oh, that one. So part of our infrastructure that supports investment and export is our Curaçao Port Authority. As I said, we have a well-developed natural harbor, which is one of the main attractions actually for investors. And Curaçao Port Authority was kind enough to share their video with us, so I'm going to share this with you as well.
Strategically located in the Southern Caribbean Sea, Curaçao Ports Authority leads the development and management of the island's ports according to the highest international standards. Based on the landlord port model, CP assumes the role of a developer, sector manager, regulator, and registered ISO service provider. The natural sheltered seaports and the safe and calm climate conditions allow for a wide range of berthing options, facilities, and maritime services for all types of vessels that cover commercial, recreational, and industrial segments. Curaçao is a marquee cruise destination and one of the destinations capable of mooring an Oasis-class vessel at the second mega pier. The end of the St. Anna Bay meets the Schottengat area, home of the Caribbean's largest crude oil refinery. It's also an economic area zone and includes a container terminal, free zone, and one of the largest and fully equipped dry docking, ship repair, and maintenance facility located in the Caribbean. Significant investments will be made in the container terminal in the coming years to further improve the efficiency and the facilities. The Bullen Bay on the southwest coast is suitable for safe docking of oil and crude tankers and will be further developed as a deep-sea port. Caracas Bay on the south coast is an open and spacious bay suitable for safe docking of the biggest vessels and other floating objects such as rigs. CPA owns the single mooring buoy at St. Michiel's Bay, used as anchoring facility for vessels with cargoes. The private Fuik Bay is used for shipment of phosphate rock. The ports are increasingly managed using innovative information technology. Strategic decision-making is supported through real-time and dynamic data dashboards. Tailored information portals and digital media are accessible online by stakeholders. This ensures that immediate information is easily accessible. Curaçao's maritime sector is home to professional and experienced operators offering a diverse mix of quality services to ships calling its ports. Harbor, coastal, and ocean towage are performed by the other subsidiary of CPA, KTK Tugs, with a state-of-the-art fleet of tugboats and highly trained personnel. Maritime certifications can be attained at the Dutch Regional Training Center through the many multilingual training courses, such as Proficiency in Survival Craft and Rescue Boats, Boat Master courses, Basic Safety Course, Advanced Firefighting, just to mention a few. A range of port operators offer maintenance and repair services, provision facilities, multi-purpose cargo handling services, and underwater services. With modern infrastructure and integrated service offerings, the Curaçao port continues to strive to become the #1 port of choice in the region.
And complementing our infrastructure is, of course, Curinde, the Curaçao Industrial and International Trade Development. We're going to go more further into this in the next slides, but they also share a very small, quick video with us that I want to share with you guys as well.
Establish your business in the free economic zone of Curaçao, a prime location for successful commerce in and out of the Caribbean. Curinda is a recognized facilitator of international production and trade of high-value goods. Enjoy doing your business in a place that offers superb technology, skilled workforce, world-class banking, reliable legal system, trade flows with the U.S. and Europe, proximity to South America and the Caribbean, and a good quality of life. Curaçao, the Caribbean gateway to the world. Establish your business in the free zone of Curaçao.
So as you know, Curinde is the operator and developer of 2 free economic zone and industrial park, soon becoming 2 industrial park, as it was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, that there's soon one coming at New Haven, where there's space for more than 60 companies, both local and international, to establish in this new area at New Haven. And the positive side of this, well, the benefit of this is that you do not have to have a export company to establish in this new area of Curinde. Currently, what's supported, or the activities that are supported in Curinde, are distribution, production, warehousing, import-export, assembly, and services, which I put a mark to. Why? Because they are working currently on updating their laws to permit more type of companies within Curinde, including data centers, BPOs, creative services, film production, for example. So as mentioned, their incentives currently are at 0% import duties, 0% turnover tax, 0 land and property tax, and so on. So with the benefits that we mentioned in the beginning, like the connectivity, multilingual, skilled workforce, technology, infrastructure, and stable government, CNEX has been approached by many BPO, business process outsourcing companies, for the past few months, even years, may I add. And so it's really our market is really attractive for the BPO services as well. And we are proud to announce that we've managed to have one of the most, the biggest name in the BPO center to establish in Curaçao, which is Concentrix. Concentrix is now established in Curaçao and is actively looking for workers So this is why we do it for, right? To create jobs for the community and contribute to the economic development of the island as well. So, se você papi holandês e inglês, se você buscando trabalho full-time, if you're looking for a full-time job or you know someone that is, please let them go to that link to the Concentrix Facebook page and apply. It's not a secret that Curaçao is a very, has a very creative, vibrant creative sector in film, music, and arts. And this is very aware. The government is very aware of this as well. And that's why it's also included in one of the NAS export sector. The government is aiming right now to establish Curaçao as a hub for film production in the Caribbean. And that's why they have the Curaçao Film Office with a representative right here, Luis. And plans going further in terms of investment include the development of a film studio in Curaçao, offering incentives to foreign filmmakers and promoting film education and training on the island as well. So I think it was in October or November, we were in Trinidad for a seminar. And when we mentioned that we are already producing around 30 to 40% renewable energy and aiming to 50 very soon, they were really surprised because a lot of the islands are not even there yet. And we are already aiming to 50% very soon. And we were very proud of this, of course. Most of this renewable production coming from wind farm and solar energy production. And if you'd follow news yesterday, the minister signed an MOU with the government of Netherlands for the offshore floating wind project, meaning that probably we go way past this 50% very, very soon. But with what we have right now, we've managed to move the peak demand from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. thanks to the production of solar energy by private businesses. And since 2018, Curaçao has an energy policy for building sustainable future, focused on 9 strategy, and among others, among them, introduction of natural gas, invest in waste to energy, and energy efficient transportation and buildings. As I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, Curaçao has the one Tier 4 data center, certified, may I add, data center in the Pan-Caribbean region, which is something that we need to be very proud of. With a world-class management and operation, 100% uptime of all critical resources, superior risk and mitigation from natural and man-made disaster is something as well that we need to promote even more as a benefit and as an asset that we have here on the island. So it was a pleasant surprise to us when we saw how quickly our tourism sector recovered from COVID, right? Which makes it, with investing in real estate, very attractive, not only for the local, international, but also the local investors as well. Why? There are no restrictions on foreign nationals purchasing property in Curaçao, and you do not need to become a resident to buy a new home. However, with I mentioned with the investor program that we have, you can become a resident by buying a new home. We have high living standards and, of course, a popular destination for Europeans and Americans seeking retirement or second homes and hospitality investment properties. Full of, sorry?
Just a minute, so the people at home can...
I would like to add to this specific sector that this is one of the sectors that is quite vulnerable for money laundering. So it might be an asset as a unique selling point, but it also requires to be alert on your controls and balances on this specific sector, because it is used and it is attractive for people abroad to use our island to money laundering. So I really would like to ask, if you want to use this as a unique selling point, make sure that you have some aspects in order. Because nowadays, everybody from abroad can manifest itself as a real estate agent without even knowing our laws that are accountable for money laundering. So what we see nowadays, that people living in Holland, they open a website, placing different kinds of real estate, not knowing our island, and selling it. And nobody addressed this issue. We are going to have an evaluation next year, and this sector specific will be evaluated by how are we protecting our own island against
And
money
you're
laundering.
from, sorry? Because you said we are
The whole island will be
no,
evaluated.
but you, in what sector are you?
Real estate sector.
Real estate as well, okay.
Yes, I'm talking about the real estate sector because it's a high-risk sector. It
Yeah.
also came forward in our national risk assessment report.
Yes.
So I would like to take that into account.
Thank you for your input, of course. We promote the island in terms of tourism, and real estate is one of these aspects. However, it's something, of course, that we will have to take into consideration. Thank you for your input, and we'll talk with the concerned parties about this. Just.
I studied U.S. law, so I'm not a lawyer though, but I work as a lawyer. But what I do know is that for you to operate as for you to actually do real estate transactions, both on the insurance part of it, as well as the sale part of it, you require licenses.
Yeah.
You require, and there's a specific reason for that, to avoid exactly what was just mentioned, because you want to make sure that people with the proper credentials and certifications and training do this. Because if you have someone with a website, like our colleague there was mentioning, it would be an issue. It would be an issue for Curaçao, because that's right. Curaçao is, since the offshore world, even though it disappeared to a great extent, we were used, and we're still being used for that purpose. So we want to avoid that.
I mean, thank you very much, and it's also. Yeah. That's monitoring. So just to continue, until we can have this discussion later on, I think it's very interesting as well. So part of the residency by investment program it is part of the At Home in Curaçao program that we started in 2020 that also accommodates remote workers and hibernators to stay for a longer period on the island. So it's something that we are selling to investors, but also people that want to stay long-term on the island as well. And if they want to know more about it, it's just to go at homeincuraçao.com. One final project that I'm showing you guys today that we are really proud of to be supporting is the Curaçao Airport Holding Sea Center project. It's not only a project that is targeted to international investors, but also locals can invest in it as well. I will let the video speak for itself.
A world-class space, a Caribbean platform unlike any other, a Curaçaoan experience you'll have to feel for yourself. Welcome to the Center, a multi-purpose technology-driven, state-of-the-art space to stay, gather, and enjoy the experience of a lifetime. On the coast of the island of Curaçao, situated near the international airport, the Center is poised to be the stage of the Caribbean, the premier regional leisure and events venue functioning as a central hub connecting continents and cultures. It all happens at the Center. Global business and leisure travelers are assured a fantastic stay at the exquisitely curated airport hotel with panoramic views. At the well-equipped business and conference center, work can continue seamlessly. A year-round calendar of high-caliber events across the various venues means it should always be a perfect time to visit the Center. A superb array of retail, hospitality, and outdoor recreation means there is always something for everyone. Be part of the center. Curaçao Airport Holding, as the owner of the airport and its adjacent areas, firmly believes in the potential of the center, the cornerstone of the Grand Airport Area development vision. The realization of the center offers a unique investment opportunity to potential long-term partners and experienced operators who seek to create a foothold in Curaçao. There is a large market potential and position in the region to be capitalized, with conservative estimates projecting stable return on investment margins. The island's strategic location as a Caribbean gateway, connecting Europe and the Americas, our stable regulatory environment, and skilled multilingual labor force make Curaçao an island nation unlike any other and a great place to invest. The possibilities are endless. Let's build a center that exceeds all expectations. The journey has just begun. Will you embark?
So if you're interested, both as a local or the international investors looking at this live stream at the moment, contact us and we can make it happen for you guys as well. So who are we? We've been established in 2014 by the Ministry of Economic Development to support both local and international investors in the journey to invest on the island, right? We need to support the economic development, and that's how we do it, but not only through investment, but also through exports as well. If you want to export to another country, we can facilitate that process for you as well, since we have connections over the regions and beyond that. So we brand and promote Curaçao's opportunities and investment incentives. We seek international investors for local projects. We facilitate the process of investment, as I said, with obtaining permits, licenses, etc. If you want to contact or be in contact with local authorities, we can assist you with that as well, as we've been doing with our clients till today. Investment, matchmaking, looking for a business partner, we can assist with that as well and provide relevant business information. We have our locations, of course, in Curaçao. We have contact points in the Dominican Republic. We had Tayana speak just now, which is our contact in Dominican Republic. We have in the Netherlands, Colombia, we have in Bogota, Colombia, and Rio Hacha. So this is how you can help us. This is a snapshot that my colleague, he's not in here, made of all the benefits that we have on the island to promote Curaçao. So hopefully they will share this presentation with you guys. Just take this slide and share it with your contacts so they can promote our island even more and know all the benefits of investing in Curaçao. And scan the QR code to be in contact with us as well. Oh, you need to go back? Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for your attention this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Rashida. Does anyone have questions for Rashida? Does anyone have questions for Rashida? Yeah? All right. Let's go.
Do you also assist to find or to help achieving rulings for those local sectors who achieve a big part in exporting products to abroad? Because right now, when an investor comes to Curaçao, there is a ruling. He or she gets a tax incentives. Yes. But for those local people who achieve to export a local product, like this morning, the digital sector, do they receive some kind of ruling?
Ruling, you mean incentives?
Yes, or discount on their winstbelasting, something like that?
That's a good question.
Actually, there are all kinds of incentives for investment. It doesn't matter if you're local or foreigner. If you invest in Curaçao, we have a special website that you can go and find all these incentives that are given, because it depends on the amount that you invest. So I will share that. We will share that later on with you. It's iGuide, whereby this webpage you can get a lot of countries, but Curaçao and 100 languages, which be exposed, and it's our languages too. So incentives that are given, it's not only to attract foreigner investment, but investment in general. Okay?
Okay, clear.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. Besides the ruling, is there still the export opportunity, like an export zone? Because yesterday we heard about the special economic zone. What are the benefits in the special economic zone, and how will it be organized? Or, yeah.
You mean by establishing in Corinde? I've shown this. Let me see if I can go back. Anyone can help me with going back?
Yeah.
Start it over again.
While, yeah.
Okay.
While you are looking for the sheet of Corinde,
Yes.
where you have the tax incentives, especially for establishing in the E-zone or a free zone. A new legislation is being prepared for a special economic zone where services are also promoted to be established again, because we had to take them out of the free zone because of the rules and regulations that were, imposed internationally. But basically, for exporters, there are also some interesting tax incentives that will be included in the new tax legislation that hopefully will enter into force in 2024, where income generated from exports will be able to be deducted from the winstbelasting, the profit tax.
Profit tax, yes.
Yes, there is an incentive for international export companies that are registered in Curaçao, but this will be an incentive for locally established exporters that receive their income from exports. And we have an exporter that can also give us some details about it.
Just to add on, as Vanessa said, currently this is what is accepted as activities in Corinde. But as Vanessa said, they are updating the legislation at the moment to include even more than this: data centers, BPO services, even creative industry, film studio, for example, to be added soon in Corinde.
To give an exact answer, Mijnmaatschappij, they started exported like when I came there 22 years ago, and we did set up an export company, an NV, locally, and we got a 5-year tax-exempt, subsidized from the government, which is already expired. I tried to get it renewal, but was not successfully.
No, I just did, actually.
Yeah? Are you all right?
Yes,
Next
yes,
question?
yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. For example, maybe someone in Curaçao has property elsewhere, large enough to put like a factory in it. Is there a possibility for someone to have like a out of sight with equal benefits that you have inside of the zone?
That is what Mrs. Torre was referring to. At this moment, the legislation are being reviewed for Corinde services not to be in the free zone, but also outside.
That makes
but
sense.
it will only be, though, for services, in the sense because you have to control. It will not be for goods, but it will be for services. So, for instance, let's say that somebody wants to come with a specific niche clinic, and the clinic doesn't have to be inside the free zones on the lots, but it can be outside, but still get the incentive, the tax incentives in that case. But it has to be on services, because if you do it on goods, you cannot control it. So the goods are still in the free zone itself, because you have to go through the custom to be controlled. But it's very important to share that Curinde allows for individuals to buy in Curinde up to $500 that you can go out without and still getting the incentive without having to pay the duties.
Okay, so what I'm referring to mostly is similar to what Maïmascapé does. You produce something, and maybe you produce a product, you bottle it here.
No, it will not be allowed for goods. But they do have incentive, for instance, like Peter was sharing, that you will get for the initial stage, and that's why it's called an incentive. We will get at the initial stage a break on your tax that you have to pay for a certain period, and it depends also on the amount of incentive. And what I would suggest to Peter, maybe if it's a new product, you know, different than what you are right now delivering. For instance, he's delivering
phosphate.
Yeah, limestone. But if he's going to deliver maybe woods, I'm just mentioning that, it's another kind of product, and maybe you can apply under that particular product. So with all these feedbacks we will take with us, but to work on the incentive, and we will make sure that it's available for everybody what the incentives are. But at this particular moment, it's evaluated case by case because it depends on the amount of you're exporting and what kind of products you're exporting to. Remember that the exporting sector is right now, or has been identified, the 6 sectors that have been identified in the National Export Strategy. So in there you get a lot of information, and because it's right now in implementation phase, any input or, let's say, information that we get that we have to include in this National Export Strategy, it will be taken into consideration.
Got it. Okay, good. Because one thing I think that would be nice to be considered, for example, if somebody's packaging articles here that for Curaçao and they're partially processing it here, it would be nice for the raw products that's going into creating that product to enter without paying import tax. Otherwise, it's double taxation. Yeah, I think that's already taken care of, right?
Yeah. Well, we do have interest of companies that want to do that, and that's the reason why, as I said, the legislation is being reviewed in order to broaden what the services, or actually what you can do through the products that you can do through free zone. But still at this moment, it's more to get more services, and the goods are still inside. So you can have, the module is, you can have the raw material brought in through free zone, established within the free zone areas, and then you have those, that fabric or manufacturer being in the free zone. Even
that's an issue for me because my factory is set up already in a building that I own. So I have to disassemble it, bring it to free zone, and pay rent. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but at a certain point, you have to differentiate still. Otherwise, it will not concur properly. So if you are from here and you bring in the goods from outside and you are producing goods to be exported, you can apply for certain incentive depending on the investment or the goods that the volume that you're exporting, and enter your petition, and they evaluate each case by case. Okay.
That's both outside and
yes.
No, the Mrs. already answered what I was about to say when she started about the free zone, but both inside and outside the free zone, there are incentives based on the amount you're investing, on your planning to produce while being on the island, that you can apply for the incentive, but you have to comply with certain points. But that can also be requested at any time at the customs department.
I just want to remind you guys, if we talk without a mic, our people in the office or at home cannot follow the conversation. I'll come back to you. Let me just get this question very quick.
Just a quick question regarding raw materials. in this particular case, for example, if it's a new company establishing in Curinde, raw materials are also included in exception of certain taxes. That's what actually I'm wondering.
Yes, it's excluded. Yeah.
All right, I'll go to the story in front just for a tiny, tiny remark, and then, are you okay?
Yes. Yes. Yes, what I'm saying, for example, if I have my own facilities, because I own my own buildings, I'm not going to pay rent to no one if I own my own buildings. Nobody would. Not having my raw material come in, import tax-free, and being able to assemble in Curaçao makes it cost prohibitive. Because my labor is more expensive here. I might as well bring it assembled from China or from the US. And then there's no industry here. So these things have to be looked at in order to create a possibility. Because the only way you would have a possibility is allow people a little bit more flexibility. Not just in Curinde, because in the Curinde, it's a revenue generating sector for the government. I understand that. But at the end of the day, people do own businesses and real estate here. And you're limiting them then. And then it's not fair either. That's all. It's just my opinion. So it's just
We are allowed opinions, Mrs. Bonnet?
Sure. Like I said, we will take all these, and when we have our task force and our meetings, we will present them. But there also, you have to understand that that's the reason why you have the free zone and you have the local sale. So if there is a module whereby your goods can be regulated, that it is for only exporting, that you are, then you can present your case, and like in our audience said, you can present your case and apply for incentive. So there is incentive for both the free zone as for outside the free zone. But if you're exporting outside, and you for sure you are in the export incentive program, but you have to apply and present your case. Every case will be taken, because it's not all goods that are recognized. And at this moment, like I said, it's a new process for the national export strategies. So all these input, we will take them and see how we can incorporate and ensure that our local businesses are successful. Because for us, it's very important. That's the reason we have also this full week to give so many information, because it's important that our local investors, our local exporters and importers are successful. Because when they are successful, we can bring international investors in, because we have a healthy investment climate on the island.
Thank you, Ms. Bonnet. Rashida, just one quick question. Yes. This is good, because this is what we want, right? So that we make this a conversation.
I think we need a longer session for this.
I do have our next guest speaker, who will also, I'm sure, bring a lot of good topics to this session. But a quick question.
Yes. The question I had is, a lot of organizations, to be able to export, are investing in digital transformation. Now, this is also a hefty cost of investment that organizations go through. Does this incentive also cover these kinds of project developments of digital transformation?
The specific question is, Kiko tebo pergunta específico.
So, for example, organizations are investing in digital transformation to be able to export. Now, that investment of digital transformation, can they apply for incentive for taxes?
Do entrepreneurs who want to invest in digital transformation, can they apply for these incentives?
Yeah, but for digital transformation specifically, I don't know if we have an incentive specifically for that, but if you are investing in a company in Curaçao that is focused on digital transformation, of course, every incentives apply to you as well. Right.
Thank you. What I think about this session specifically is that it makes good conversation afterwards. So please be present in the moment. Thank you, Rashida.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Round of applause for Rashida. All right, thank you. Thank you, Rashida. Petronilia, I congratulate you on the layout of your presentation as well. And we are ready. He is ready. He's been ready for a while now. And, you know, when Guido is in the building, there's always good things ahead. Our next guest speaker for today is Guido Royer. He's going to be elaborating on nurturing local talent, workforce development for a thriving export economy, and launch of the second edition essay competition. Guido, you're fast. Allow me to introduce you. Guido Royer has been specializing on innovation, economics, and international entrepreneurship over the past decade, where he focuses on island-based firms. He has a special consideration to the Greater Caribbean and Latin America, and he likes to travel. That I know about you. Thank you so much. A round of applause for Guido Royer.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Usually when you get a slot after lunch, you get sleepy people, but I'm trying to keep you awake. Thank you for the introduction. I would like to thank the Ministry of Economic Development and CNEX again for taking the lead for this event. Very important to discuss our way outwards, because we can double, triple, quadruple our markets if we focus on the opportunities outside our national boundaries. Also, thanks to all the sponsors that make the event possible, because obviously we are not doing this alone, we're doing this together. Good. Gringos, here we go. Nurturing local talent, workforce development, and for a thriving export economy. As you may know, I lecture at the University of Curaçao, yes. Well, there's really only one, right? One of the things that we do is we focus on talent. It's very important to prepare next managers. Managers is the one space where you can influence economic development. There are four of them from my class that are here today. I would like to give them a round of applause for showing up for Meneer's lecture. And I think okay, there we go. Yes. Working with talent is a very difficult thing, because it's not just content. It's also skills. It's also insight, and more importantly, insight. We've all experienced COVID in a very, very special way. It came as a surprise, but if you had insight, you could prepare for several of those elements. I give you an example. At the university, we flipped immediately to online classes. We were quite prepared, actually, to do that. It didn't go as planned, but, you know, we made sure that we still could do some skills transfer during that period to our students so that they can move on. But it's not only about the university, it's about a wider space. So I'm going to go through that today. So my background, as presented, this picture was taken in Denmark. Yes, I love to travel. It's been 74 countries up to now. The main topic is international entrepreneurship. International entrepreneurship is the baby of two theoretical parents, international business entrepreneurship. I'll get into that a little bit later. And I deal with market economics, technology, innovation, politics, yes, also culture, but specifically islands. And it's very important for us to look at islands because there's an added level of complexity that we tend to ignore when we want to develop talent. So the objectives, I want to consolidate between the three topics, update on things that have come up from research that we can take learnings from, and give you some propositions or one proposition, and elicit participation from the workforce. Now, I'm from Curaçao. We say cuatro de bela, four is the candles at that, so I'm going to give you a fifth one. We're going to do some entertainment. Good. So let's start with the consolidation. Like I said, international entrepreneurship is the child of international business and entrepreneurship. In addition to that, you have another family member that is export, and international entrepreneurship positions itself in the middle of all of it. Because it's not only existing firms that export or engage internationally, it's new firms because we have new technology. Particularly now, you might have seen a few of my publications on AI, which enables a lot. And these two theories explain different elements of what happens. So, international business is activities carried out across the border, so that makes it different. You make decisions based on efficiency, if you want to rent, own, like the gentleman just discussed about the opportunities, how do you structure your business. But particularly when you're engaged internationally, you're a different firm because you have to deal with different movements from the same actor. 2 governments or 3 governments or 15 governments. If you ask people at Nagico, for example, they operate in about 15 islands, if I'm not mistaken. Each island has their own code of corporate governance. Each island has their own regulations, so you have to make sure that that one person that consolidates all that has a very difficult job, but also has a very special skill. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is an act of opportunity seeking. What is an opportunity? It's also characterized by novelty. You see something that's not there, or you see a way that is not being done, and you engage into the market to do it. And as a manager, you're not involved in changing an organization as much as you are in developing a new organization. So this is what makes international entrepreneurship so interesting. And obviously, you send products abroad or you engage abroad, you export, gives a level of complexity. So I told you I focus on islands, right? One of the important things about islands is it's the only place where you have 2 barriers to cross when you're going abroad. I think I drew this in class last week, where you have one barrier, the frontier between, let's take the Netherlands and Germany. You can walk across and boom, you're in a new country. In our case, you're an island, and you have to cross a body of water. So you either have to know how to fly and how to swim to get there. Granted, nobody has learned how to swim, how to fly, so swimming is the option, but swimming across the ocean, I think, is a little bit of a difficult thing. We bound this back to theory. Professor Gillies talked about an ecotone. Is that when you have a body of water and a land, and you're surrounded by water, that frontier becomes a double frontier because it's its own ecosystem. And it's the same thing that we always struggle with. Oh, it's difficult to go abroad because we're small, or it's difficult to go abroad because we don't know. It's difficult to go abroad because we can find 1,000 reasons why it's difficult to go abroad, but we can't find, or we can't. It's very difficult to develop the reasons why we can't. And it's due to this, because we're an island. Very important to consider when we're building models and talent programs and these things, because people are islanders. I've run a study trip at the university for well over 10 years, and it will surprise you that every single trip I went to Kranji to take a new passport for the first time with a student. That student always has the honor to sit next to me in the airplane and hear me snore on the flight, but to get the experience firsthand of what it is to fly and to go abroad. And you have to imagine, if a student doesn't get this opportunity, it's going to be difficult for him, her, to use the ability of knowledge they got at the university to move forward. Guess what? It's the same thing for your employee as well. So when you're asking something of your employee, it's important to ask, do they know that they're crossing 2 borders? Are you aware that you are crossing 2 borders when you're going abroad? This is international entrepreneurship in an island context. Added layer of difficulty. So let me talk about research. You cannot invite someone that works as a researcher and not talk about research, particularly his own. My colleagues at the University of Mauritius had a very interesting paper on what are the factors that influence firms to go abroad. And Professor Sanegado, Professor Enrico, and Van Staden had a wonderful elaboration. They interviewed Mauritian firms, small textile exporting firms, and they found out that these firms actually were never set up to export, let alone set up a firm abroad to operate. So these firms, I don't want to say suffered, but they were challenged by the island problem because they were focusing on the internal market. And this is why events like these are so important, because we, again, expose you to what is outside. They finished by saying that it's both financial and non-financial indicators that influence their propensity to go abroad. So when we think it's money, yes, money is definitely part of the equation, but it's a constant. Money is a problem even to expand locally. So to me, it's the non-financial indicators, determinants that really make it a deal. I continue. This is a paper published by myself last year. We looked at how CEOs of companies think. And generally, the theory is that if you are a person that studied abroad, you're more likely to take the firm you lead abroad. Makes sense, right? You have a network, you studied either in the US, in Colombia, in Europe, and you come back to your island and you take your firm abroad because you have that network. So it so happens to be, we looked at 170, no, it's right there, 160 countries, yes, because the data changes every time I do another paper. 164 companies from the islands, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Barbados, Iceland, Malta, Cyprus, Mauritius, and Fiji. So very diverse. There's no, you can't say, oh, it's a Caribbean thing or it's something. It so happens to be that the CEOs that studied abroad are not just not likely to take their firm abroad, they're more likely to keep their firm on the island. So when we looked at the data again, it turned out that all the CEOs were natives from the island. So again, this issue of islandness is the barrier. So if you want to develop talent, we need to be aware that it exists and find ways to do it. I haven't found a way yet, otherwise I would have been a millionaire. And these studies have inspired something that's going to be published this year. This is a paper, a thesis in development by Naresh Kuriel, a student that has found love for this topic. He's looking at firms in the food industry that want to expand using franchising. Because franchising is quite easy. You just get money to sell your idea. Made easy. Because I know Karil is looking at me, no, that's not how it works. But made easy, it's just selling that idea. And one of his findings is that most of the companies that operate with locations abroad want to maintain control of their quality. So they don't want to sell or use franchising. Franchising is a big no-no, which is a wonderful finding. But what are other things that we found? A majority of those companies are family-owned. So it's important to look at family businesses in the internationalization because they did take the risk and quite successfully actually are operating abroad. And when I say abroad, my students will be able to tell you, I don't look at Aruba, Bonaire, St. Maarten, the Netherlands, and Suriname, because to me that is still kind of home. We know a little bit. Really abroad means going like Koyman did to Barbados, where now you really have to face a different legal system, a different language, a different culture. But guess what? You'll be surprised that they are quite the same because at the end of the day, we are one Caribbean. So these theoretical findings give me the next item. What does this mean? We need to invest a little bit more in content creation for talent development. If we did not know that this issue of island existed, we do not have a solution for it. I've always thought over the past 12 years, using American books that assume that you can just cross the border to Canada, or a market that is quite large, not recognizing the fact that my people here on the island have that issue, and I have data to prove it now. So it is important to invest in research in entrepreneurial behavior. At the end of the day, this is a social science. We cannot just influence using incentives. We really need to look at what are people doing and how can we support this behavior in as much as possible. And we need to also engage more, and I say broader and more diverse resources, because learning does not only come from those articles. I read those articles because it's my job, but I'm pretty sure that if I send them to you, even by next year, Roy, I didn't get to it. So I need to be able to, me and my colleagues at the university, and all others that are involved in teaching and the sharing of skills, the transfer of skills, they need to know, they need to be able to share this in multimedia formats. Events like this are important. We can do things in the virtual channels, podcasts, workshops, etc., not just education. Which brings me to my next point. In talent development, we always look at education, or the Ministry of Education. There's a very important element. In our language, educación means both. But education is not learning. Many of you that went to a college or university long ago, you're not really applying what you've learned in that program. So you're actually exerting things that you've learned, not things that you were taught. It's experience that you got, and that's where the discussion always comes when, no, you have a degree, I have experience. Both are very valuable. This is why you see companies nowadays talking about their former employees as alumni. If you worked at Google for 10 years, you've learned more from Google than any other college you've attended before. You've learned Google's methodology. You've learned about Google's whatnot. And it's important to distinguish between acquiring knowledge and acquiring skills. I can give you all the knowledge I have. It may not be valuable to develop a skill. Trust me, I've told a lot of people to travel, how to do it. They still haven't left the island. And you're not doing something intangible. You're doing something tangible. It's a task. It's an activity that you're carrying out. Not everyone has the same courage or the same level of interpretation to see certain things. So when we're talking about talent development, we're not talking almost at all about the knowledge part. Yes, there's some knowledge involved, but the method by which we deliver the content is completely different. And you will see a lot of my students always tell me, why do we stay in the classroom? Why don't we go out and do things? This is why they're here. I'm glad they are. So it's a difficult question that I always face. I've faced this for many, many years. Can the university do this, or the university should? The answer is always yes, but there's a huge but there. We need to collaborate because we are not or schools are not by definition a skills transfer institution. We are a knowledge institution. Granted, there are many institutions that are very heavy on skills, but we are more heavy on knowledge. To be able to do this talent development specifically for international entrepreneurship, we need to collaborate. So our resources, people say, oh, you have root lecture halls, you have professors, you can use that. Yes, but I would rather have laboratories, work with robots, teach people how to use certain software, like ChatGPT is influencing my classroom these days. And what I realized is that most of the initiatives that people pitch at the university, they don't fall in the knowledge development part, they fall in the talent acquisition part. And that is something that, one, is not funded, it's not our mandate as a university. And second, it is possible though, granted we collaborate. And this is where I come to my next point. How do we do it? Well, first and foremost, today is a realization of that. Events, seminars, workshops, and conferences are very nice ways to transfer these skills. Today, you meet someone that's new. You see something that's new. You hear something new. You're engaged into something that's possibly even you knew it before, but now in a different way that allows you to take this knowledge and create an experience. One of the things I've told my students to come here today is go out there and make sure you get as many business cards as possible to get an internship coming August. Because how else are you going to find internship positions just sitting in a classroom? So it's a skill. Some of them might fail, some of them might succeed, but ultimately, this is how we've all learned. This wasn't the way we were all educated. Remember? There's another element that many times when proposed are not followed up on, and partly my own doing, is doing secondments. I've noticed that in Curaçao particularly, we are very focused on working in one organization. That's where you work, enough. No discussion. Labor laws are so difficult for human resource managers that we cannot see any other options. But how else can a lecturer or researcher or a student or anyone willing to develop a talent learn without stepping out of the organization once in a while? Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to step out and make it a potpourri of stepping out and it becomes a carnival of talent. But we need to stimulate that with which we can develop talent further with the aim of international entrepreneurship. And finally, one of the things that is very much necessary, and I've learned this over the years, now having understood how difficult it is for islanders to cross a border, we need to invest a little bit more in research to know what it means for our people. One of the comments I've received from people watching at home is that, it's difficult to sell caps. I make caps and I want to sell them, but how do I get the money from someone from the United States for my cap? And I think those are a few of the very important elements